Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Selena. This is You Plus Happy. Each week I bring you someone who challenges us to define success and happiness on our own terms. This week we have Jamie Lee Williams, actor, director, co-host of the Audacity podcast, and CEO of Black Knight Creative Company. He's been acting since 2015. I'm gonna jump in. Hi.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much. I'm a big fan. Medium fan. I ain't gonna lie.
That's still a lie, but thank you for being here. I'm happy that you decided to do this. So we'll jump in. How did you get started?
With what?
Whatever you want to talk about, whichever.
Well, I was born on Chicago. I got started. I think, so I got a couple of different things you just mentioned there. So I guess I'll start with the podcast. Mm-hmm. With my podcast, I kind of got started because of me and a friend of mine. We was looking for like a creative outlet to kind of just get, whether it be work off our chest, the day off our chest, traffic or something like that. Out kind of came the Audacity podcast, where we just talk about things that we found audacious, whether it be work, like I just mentioned, or just waiting in line at the grocery store and somebody trying to cut you or something like that. So it started with just looking for an outlet, and then it kind of just like, okay, actually this is a little bit something more, and finding meaning behind what we were doing. When it comes to acting, how I got started, I think maybe like when I was a kid, I was in some like plays, and I had to read like a speech, like the MLK speech for MLK Day, and just these little hints of like performative acts here and there. And then more recently, the Black Knight Creative Company, this is a company I recently started where I teach improv classes and coach people in their just different whether it be improv, or just even kind of getting to finding ways to help them connect with people a little bit more, and also using improv to teach teams in corporate spaces how to kind of connect and communicate a little bit better. How I got started with that, I had got rid of my own IT job. I was working as vice president for a number of years at a bank, and I just wasn't enjoying it as much as these more creative things and creative outlets that I had. And I kind of just had made a decision to kind of look for ways that I can do what I enjoy doing, and at the same time eat off of it. So
yeah, eating is important. When did the podcast start?
The podcast started in 2019, I believe. Yeah, 2019. So we're doing it for about 4 years now.
Oh wow, okay.
I have 100 plus episodes.
Were you acting while you were working in corporate America?
Yes.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
And that's what, like, you were like, I need to go further with this. Okay.
Yeah, because I think, a number of people, when, we split our time between, when we just split our time, I think I found myself kind of a little bit drained from my corporate job a little bit more than I wanted to, and not really able to pour into it as much. Or I was able to, have some traction when it came to acting, but it just wasn't, I wasn't making enough progress as fast as I wanted to. Or, so I just, instead of kind of, going back to a place that I feel like wasn't serving me as much as I was serving it, I was like, you know what, let's kind of flip it and just kind of pour more into what I actually enjoy doing and see what happens.
What about directing do you like?
What about directing do I like? I think I like, it allows me to mine activity a little bit, like mine almost like emotion. Like, at some point we have a script, you just have words on a paper, and then when you have an actor read those words, now it's like, okay, an actor read words on a paper. but getting more out of the the actor, or even tuning the lighting, or shooting it from a different position, you get a lot more out of that capture as opposed to just words on a paper. So and I think that's the magic of it, because it's like, before it was just somebody's ideas in their heads, like, oh yeah, I think this could happen and this could happen, and then over time it becomes like a vision that came to life.
What about acting do you like?
Acting. When it comes to acting, it's like the most present I think you can be, because it forces me to listen to my scene partner. It forces me to. It allows me to be completely in tune, if I'm acting well, completely in tune with whatever emotion is occurring, whatever feeling is happening, and trying to put out an honest emotion. And then after I act, the other side, where people see me act, they're able to kind of connect with whatever emotion that I was displaying. So I think delivering something that just wasn't there, I think, is what I love about it.
Yeah, as a creative, I think sometimes I struggle with, like, why do I want to do this? And so you had a quick with acting. It's I wonder, like, why do I love this? So, like, sometimes I can't articulate why I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think having the why is super important to keep you going,
motivated. Yeah, sure.
All right, you kind of answered this, but what was the turning point, or was there a turning point where you realized you needed to take a different path than what was expected of you?
Yeah, I kind of answered it, but I didn't answer as thoroughly as possible. But to answer the question, I think last year I was caretaking my dad for the year, or about a year or so, a little bit more than a year, and it kind of made me. It kind of allowed me to kind of appraise different things in my life as far as what was important, and it kind of made me realize how much work wasn't as important as they wanted they wanted it to be for me. So I was whether when it came to taking care of my dad in a moment, or hopping on this meeting to talk about why the performance of this server isn't doing as well as it was 6 months ago. It's like, I have to go do something else. So I think the outcome of that, I kind of focused on, like, okay, well, if I'm going to make a sacrifice when it comes to my own life in order to caretake my dad, then the least I can do is supply as much joy in my life as possible. So when it came to acting, I was doing that kind of stuff, and the stuff the stuff I was doing, I was enjoying, and everything else was kind of like, okay, well, we'll see what happens when I have time, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So when it came to because of that, I had got rid of that job, but that allowed me to. Oh, and then my dad passed, so it kind of made me take a look in the mirror and say, like, okay, you have this path. Are you going to go back and do the stuff that you don't want to do? And that really wasn't even like an option. It was just like, okay, now we're doing this, because since then I'm like a different person than I used to be since my dad passing. So I think having a lot less tolerance for not being in a space that I don't want to be is kind of what pushed me a little bit more towards, like, okay, this is the new strategy. So
yeah, okay. I have a lot of thoughts, but
don't we all?
Yes. So, like, just taking inventory too. It was a time something pushed you to take inventory of your life and just kind of say, this is not important for was it hard to leave your corporate job?
No. It was hard not getting paid consistently. But it was like a relief, and I had actually got fired, so I didn't have a choice. But when it came to looking back at, when it came to like looking for a new job, I found myself not as inspired as a person that had just gotten fired, because I'd been there before, or I had been laid off before, but getting to the point of like, okay, I gotta go do this thing. I gotta go, put the resume, I gotta go do this thing. And I was like, oh, actually, no, let me try to figure out something else, because, I'm finding mistakes on my resume that I should have found months ago. And I'm like, you know what? That just tells me that I am not into it. So I'm not gonna continue to try to force something that my person doesn't want to be involved with anymore. So, I put so much time and effort into becoming, that version of myself. And so to expect a new version of myself to mature quickly just because I need it, it's kind of, I found I had accepted to be a little bit just unfair to my creative art, because it takes 10 years to build like a career in anything, or, so I think I'll stop talking there.
Yeah, no. I knew you got laid off. I had a feeling, but I got laid off in 2020, and I wanted to be laid off. They used to do layoffs all the time, and I was like, please let me be the next one, please. I was looking for something else, but I wasn't getting any callbacks, and I was like, I know it's so cliche, but it was a blessing in disguise. And like, when I got laid off, it gave me an opportunity to and it was the pandemic, and I had severance. So it gave me time to sit with what I really wanted to do and what I believed I realistically could do. Because I wanted to act and sing, but I didn't believe that I could make a living at that time. So I knew it wasn't smart to pursue it if I didn't have that real belief that I could actually make, because you still, like you said, you have to eat. So I kept those on the back burner, and I started the podcast, which led to the job that I have now, which is a producer. But had I not tried something, because I was in healthcare, so if I hadn't tried something on a different path, I wouldn't have found where I am now, which I still have those dreams, but I'm a lot closer, or I won't say dreams, they're goals, but I'm a lot closer than I was before by praying to get laid off, but also allowing that space to find something that I felt like I could do to eat in that moment and still support everything I needed to.
Yeah.
And I ended up around a bunch of creatives. They're super inspiring. So anyway, I just said that to say layoffs are dope.
Yeah.
I know it's hard.
Just to add to, layoffs are dope.
Especially when you get a severance.
I'm sure there are a number of people that have been laid off that was like, no, I need to take care of my family. And it was like, yeah, but my family, I don't have, children.
I don't have a family.
I got a dog that I got to make sure she eats. She got kibble in her bowl. We good. But I think for me, it was more like, it wasn't worth it anymore to act, it wasn't worth it anymore to just be in that space anymore, because they just wanted more out of me than I wanted to give them from myself.
Well, I think it takes soul searching too, and being honest with yourself, because when I was in corporate America, I was miserable. Like, it was literally like soul sucking work for me. It was nowhere near in alignment with who I was or who I wanted to be, and it was 100% a different person I had to be to show up in that space. And I knew it was really starting to affect my whole life. It was affecting my self-esteem. It was just, I was embarrassed by the title. Even though I was being paid well, I was embarrassed because it was so far away from who I am. It wasn't authentic in any way. So I think that's another layer too. I took a huge pay cut to be in the role that I'm in now, but it's worth what it's done for my spirit, my life, and basically my life. And like I said, it was also important for me to be around creative people, because it's like, you're going to become who you're around, whether you like it or not. And so being in that space with other creatives is like constantly giving me hope and constantly keeping me motivated. So that's another part too. I know that some people don't want to be laid off, and then but there's nothing you can do about it. So you got to make your next move.
Right.
No matter which way it goes.
You got to accept it and just roll the punches.
Yeah, and I know it can be hard, but
for me, it was like, I think being around more and more leading up into me getting laid off, being around more and more people that got it, as far as, you know, like you just mentioned, you know, wanting to do this thing, but, you know, there's so many, you know, seemingly, you know, gatekeepers that say you can't do this thing until you do all these other things.
Yeah.
You can't, you know, be on this blockbuster movie until you get a headshot, reel, you know, blah blah blah, all the other, you know, steps that it takes. But being around people that do that and or that know that and kind of get what we don't have to explain, or we can even talk about, oh man, I don't know, like a really good friend of mine, he's an actor, and he had got fired, he had got laid off like the week before I did, and I was like, oh man, it's gonna be all right, man. This is exactly what you wanted. You good. Oh, man, I'm jealous of you, bro. Like, you killing it. And then I got him later. I'm like, bro, what the hell? This is some book. And so I think, you know, I believe that, you know, our person and our actual selves have more control over us than I like to think that I do, you know, like, and meaning that, you know, even if I go in a space where I don't want to be there and I stay there, my person is still loud and it's like, oh man, I really want to go. And, you know, there's like a feeling inside where it's like, yo, we're not supposed to be here. What are we doing? So more recently, I think I've just been a little bit more aware or connected to listen to myself in that without sounding too
Well, that's the same thing I just said, basically, too. Of like,
I said a whole different thing than you said.
But the foundation, like the core of it is the same.
Oh,
of
right,
like
right.
taking out that time and that quiet time and being and giving yourself, allowing yourself that space and just being honest with yourself. You have to do it. You don't have to do it, but that's where it got me to where I am now.
That soul searching you mentioned.
Yeah, and being true to who I am. That's the same thing you said. I already said it. Anyway, I said that already. And I didn't want to be insensitive to people who lost their jobs. But
I don't want to, but
I was. I'm sorry.
What y'all broke at? No, I'm joking.
No,
I don't know if
that's
y'all
not-
cuss on this podcast.
I do cuss a lot all the time. Have there been any challenges along your journey? And if so, how do you push through? How did you push through?
No, it's been wonderful.
I know,
and great.
it's been so easy.
And easy. And everything
Everything's
comes.
smooth. It's a
works
straight
out.
line to success.
What was the question? Has it
Don't
been?
look at my-
has it been?
don't look at my
I'm trying to
face.
understand. Has
Have
there
there
been
been
challenges?
what challenges have you
What
faced,
challenges have I
and how
faced?
did you deal with them?
Faith. You know, you mentioned it a little bit, like faith in myself, faith in my ability, faith in that time is coming, faith that I made right decisions or I'm making right decisions. Resources, money, you know, challenges. Even guidance as far as, okay, now, you know, I was like, oh man, this corporate job is taking up all my time, so I'm not able to really focus on this thing. And, you know, the universe is like, all right, cool. Well, you don't have that now. Now you just got time, and then all the thing you do, what you gonna do? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I didn't have a plan. So,
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. So, or be prepared for what you wish for is something I found. How I dealt with faith, for example. God, really, honestly, and just be like, all right, now you got me here. It's your turn. I didn't do what I could do, and just, you know, I think focusing on being able to, you know, get a little bit better or just add a little bit to the day, 1% at a time. If you get 1% better. If I get 1% better every day, then after 100 days, you know, it's lit. If I just look up an article on, you know, how do I, you know, start a business. If I look at a YouTube video on how to tune podcast settings to make sure it's the right, whatever configuration or whatever. Or if I look to see if I go to a festival and, you know, I watch some films, and, you know, that kind of adds to my other things. I think just kind of a little bit trusting myself, and, you know, because I was kind of more connected and like, okay, well, what am I going to do? Well, what do I feel like doing? All right, well, let's go do that. A lot of that has happened, and, you know, especially some of the other challenges, I mentioned my dad passed, so that grief is like another level of challenge over all of it. But I think there was like a level of responsibility lift that that I was no longer. I had more time because I didn't have to caretake, for example. I'm like, okay, now I can do all these things, and I'm moving around and doing this, doing that. And then another challenge I found was overextending myself to people who didn't value my time as much as I did. Like even outside of corporate, because people were like, hey, can you come do this project for me? Hey, can you come do this thing? Hey, I need you to come do it. I'm like, okay, yeah. And at a certain time, I have found that you have to, do some level of, the work, the reaching across thing that Issa Rae talks about.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it's like, all right, somebody got to give me, pay for a meal or something,
Yeah.
And with that, setting boundaries is a huge thing, and saying no and being like, maybe not. And another thing I, have done is just giving myself grace among all of the things. Like, yes, I have, a number of things that I could be doing, but also I could just lay down and just sit down for a second and just allow, whether it be the feelings to come to me, or the grief of the moment to pass, or whatever, and just kind of trusting that, okay, this day is going to be different than a year from now. So
do you feel guilty when you rest?
I think there's a level of guilt in there, or even restlessness. It's like, oh man, I need to go let me go. Since I'm here, I might as well. There are like, there's like those physical. There's probably like a physical thing, and my mind is like, oh man, you got to go do this. Like while you're here, you might as well. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Let me go watch some TV or just chill out, or
I feel
scroll,
really,
doom scroll for 3 hours.
I feel really, well, I think we all do that. I feel really guilty. So this podcast is a trick. It's just my therapy sessions. No, I feel really guilty when I rest. Anytime, like even if I plan it out, like I think for me, it's like plant seeds every day or water them every day. So as long as I did something and I'm like, okay, on Friday, Selena, I'm going to allow you, like I tell myself, I'm going to allow you to have 2 hours of playtime. But those hours come and I'm like, no, but I have to do this, I have to do that. And then I was sick for a while, and I was like, I never want to take my health for granted. And it's like, but you are well, you have energy, you can't take this day for granted. And so then when the whole time I'm resting, I'm just sitting there and like, I should be doing this and I should be doing, or I'll clean up anything, because I'm like, I should never be sitting still. That's a little bit of like, I think our culture, like that toxic productivity.
Yeah.
And it's anyway, I was just curious because you said a lot, but I heard that part too of like giving yourself grace and giving yourself that time to just relax. Okay, all right. We'll all get there someday.
One day or day one.
I don't know. In our society, we talk a lot about success. So much, but we never talk about the failures on the road to success. Was there ever a time when you felt like you failed, and what was your biggest takeaway from that experience?
In the past, you're asking, like, or is there a time now that I look back and I'm like, that was a failure?
Whatever feels like
the answer.
No, yeah, but whatever feels like, damn, I messed up, or that was a real letdown, and like, what did you take from that? I guess it has to be in the past, because you did take something from it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm coming up with anything. I think
that's good.
I think it's more. I don't think I see any of the things that I wasn't, a millionaire off of. I don't see them as successes. Like even corporate, when I was working it, I was successful in it. Well, it was just, even when I, was asked to leave, it wasn't. I don't even see those as failures, because I was in those spaces for the amount of time that I was there. and that's as long as I was supposed to be there. I don't think any space for us is infinite to where it's like now you're supposed to do this until etc. It's like, okay, you go to a thing, you do that thing for a while, and then you go do another thing. I think so. I'm having an issue connecting with any one of those things being a failure. Of course, I'm nowhere near perfect. I'm nowhere near as where I want to be, and the things I have done, they could have been done a lot better, and I could have put more into them. But that's not how it went down.
That's just not what you consider a failure.
Yeah. Because there's so much more that goes into even showing up for all those different activities. It's not like, okay, did you, for example, cooking a dinner is a success or a failure, right? Well, maybe it is, maybe it's not, because I had to go to a grocery store, and what if the grocery store is closed? Then is that a failure if I'm not able to cook dinner because the grocery store is closed, or because I don't have the resources to get groceries, or because I don't know how to make pasta primavera or something like that?
It sounds like pivoting constantly, like.
Yeah, so I don't. It's we have a circumstance in all these different areas. Even if trying to attain our goals, was I able to put as much time into those goals as I wanted to? Maybe not, but my person put into it what he wanted to, or he was able to, and we got what we got. So it's more results based as opposed to.
Who was your person?
Me.
Like, who are you, and then who was your person?
just to level set everybody.
No, I like it. I think I know what you mean, but I don't want to assume.
It's like almost like a subconscious, I guess. Like my inner self, like if it's the person when you're in a relationship and you want to break up before, or you talk about when you're working, in corporate, if you're in corporate, you're like, oh man, your person may or may not want to be there, or your person could love working there and have aspirations to be CEO of CIO, whatever of the thing.
Is your person the truth?
That's a good question. Let's see. I think my person is my feelings about the truth.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So, and then who would that make you?
Oh, I'm just here for the ride.
You're just.
I'm just the
vessel.
I'm just the vessel who allows the person to do whatever.
Okay.
They.
Do you think some people are not?
A lot of people are not.
They don't know their person, or they're not tuned with that person.
Yeah, they don't. We don't like. I think society forces us a little bit, or not forces it. Conditions us a little bit to get to do the things that we like. I think society conditions us to want things. In order to attain those things, we do things to get those things. So in order to get a car, I'm gonna go do what it takes to get a car, instead of being a person or being more in tune with yourself, and whatever things come towards you is what happens.
I love a quote I heard about Russell Brand like 10 years ago. He was like, if you don't program yourself, you're running on someone else's program. And that's so, and when I heard that, I was like halfway in, halfway out, but that was the final like wake up, like, so, and then that made me question everything in my life, and every want, every desire, every single thing, because we're programmed from the womb, like, and so if you don't get off that program and you're running with someone else's, that's like neglecting yourself, the self.
The self, exactly. I agree. It's rejecting it also, because you're constantly trying to force this circle into a square hole. And it's you're like trying to figure out, like, oh man, I don't know why I'm tired, because you've been fighting yourself all day, or first person.
But you won't even, like, you could be, I know there was a point, like, especially as a teenager, because then that's when it's real heavy of like, you really want to fit in more. So I was so far away from myself that I couldn't even hear it. So I think, I don't know what it takes to get there, just that quiet time. I think getting older has a lot to do with it too, of like, maybe not older, but wiser, and just not trying to get approval. Because like when you said the car example, if someone wants to they want to buy this car, they didn't ask themselves why. If it's a man, it's probably to get women, to impress his friends. But then you gotta go another layer. Why do I want to impress these friends? Why do I want these women that are attracted to this car? Most times in the major city, you're not getting it to drive fast, or like whatever the car was engineered to do.
Sure.
You're not gonna do that stuff with it. You just want to stunt on it. And so I think it's like chipping away at as deep as you can go. Like why? Like a little kid. Why?
Yeah.
Why? And then you can get to the root maybe. And if you're okay with the root, maybe it is you, or maybe.
I mean, I think people do things for a lot of different reasons. You know, like
The car is an easy example because most people go through it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like, but even the car example, like if that same male, was riding around in loud cars when he was younger, so that becomes part of him and part of what they deems like their identity. But if they don't never really connect to it, and then they buy like a shitty car, and then they get older and like, oh man, I really don't like going places. I'm not really like a travel person. Well, it's because your person wants to be in a different place, and we're not able to, you're not connecting with wanting the car. Or, I think sometimes people in society, we decide because if we can't get things, we stop desiring them. And I think turning off that desire is, another form of rejecting ourselves a little bit, and saying like, no, we can't want to be, a movie star or whatever, because you can't have it. So don't even want it.
Yeah.
You can't, become Aretha Franklin because, your voice isn't blah, blah, blah. So don't even want to be on the stage. You can't, have red shirts because we said so. So
Even being afraid to just ask yourself what you want.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know how to surmise that. Anyway, just dig deep and listen to your person. That's who your person is, and just keep asking. And I didn't mean to oversimplify the car thing, because I was also thinking like it could also be from poverty. Like you grew up in poverty, so now you got a little bit of money. You want that. It's a lot of anyway. You got to ask yourself why. Anyway, I'm getting into details that don't matter. Anyway, who or what has been your biggest motivation or inspiration up until this point? And what's the best advice you've ever received?
From them, or just separately?
Just say things.
So it's two questions at the same time.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who? You said who was the what? Most.
Who or what has been your biggest motivation or inspiration? I'll just leave it at that for now.
Okay, can I have a who and what?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, cool. So the who, I think my mom has been a huge motivator. Just the sacrifices that were made for me, and wanting to return that with a reciprocal of everything I can possibly give. The value I feel like I received from my mom is something I feel like I may or may not be able to pay back. She may be like, no, you've done all the things you did. Cool. But, for me, that's one of my things. The what, people that have had me fucked up over time, whether it be people at work, whether it be, past relationships, whether it be friends I'm not cool with anymore, or friends I'm cool with now, they're like, yo, why are you doing this thing when you can be doing something? Like, well, because you don't get, matter of fact, you got me fucked up. I gotta go do this thing so I can show you how much you have me fucked up. I don't know if this is a cussing podcast. Like,
Fuck shit.
But yeah, I think, and best amount of advice I received, let's see, I think, it was in one of my acting classes. One of the other students, it was a friend of mine. He was like, "Yo, man, I had just did a scene, and like I wasn't really into it that much. I hit the points, but it wasn't really like my best work. So, everybody was giving feedback, and he was like, "Hey, man, hey Jamie, you're really good at improv. You're always, people are always excited to hear what's the next thing is going to come out of your mouth." And they always have like a box that they feel like, they know what you're going to do a little bit. And, so I could see that it makes you feel like you have to deliver a certain thing, but do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, it has nothing, like, you can redefine yourself every single day. You can be a completely different person from this moment to the next. So don't feel compelled to deliver what people think that they want or that they can get or that they are owed from you, from me.
Yeah, I think we all do that. How did you confirm in your mind, like, this is what I want to do?
Oh, I haven't. I don't.
I was the first one my own.
So no. Let's see.
How do you know?
How do I know?
How do you know it's the one? How do you know?
I'll let you know when I know.
All right, cool. Let me know because I need to know.
I don't know. I think after I do it, what do I feel like? You know, I feel like I want to do it again. I feel like, you know, even when I'm tired and I'm doing it, I'm like, yo, oh yeah, I want to quit. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess, yeah, we probably do need to eat. It's been 24 hours. So, I think, you know, anything that drives me to be like, okay, yes, I can do anything in the world, but I'm going to stop all the things I could be doing and I'm going to go focus and go do this thing.
It takes priority.
It
wins.
It wins.
It beats out everything else.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. That's good.
I don't know if it is.
I don't know. Who knows anything? What is something you hope people say about you when you're not in the room?
Let's see. Jamie is funny, kind, and always. You said hope. Jamie is. I hope people do see me as funny, because that means I gave them something, a little bit of a moment of joy. While
No,
we
I
were
said
all
that
hanging
when
out.
someone interviewed me. I said funny, so I get it.
So you trying to steal mine?
No, I'm saying.
Is this your interview or is it?
No, but.
So is my. So is.
No, it's a
okay.
conversation
Okay,
that
got you.
get to have with me. But anyway, go ahead. I'm saying because when you want to be funny, it's not for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you give to that other person. Anyway, I think it can come across not wrong, but like confusing if someone doesn't have that desire. So that's why I was hoping you explain what you were saying.
Yeah, sure. I think I love laughing and I love seeing people laugh. So when I'm not there, like and even for somebody to say, "Oh man, Jamie's funny," and I'm not even there, that means just facts. I gave them a moment of like happiness when I wasn't even there. So if everybody could do that a little bit, we change the world, in a way. So happy, funny, kind, generous, and he's walking in his person, in his self.
How would they know that?
Because people see it. You can see it.
Okay.
You can see when people are going through the motions, or I can see it. I don't know if everybody can see it, but I can see when people are going through the motions, or people say they're not happy or they hate XYZ. I used to say I hate XYZ and said it for years until I was either you get tired of saying it or people remove you to where you don't have to say it anymore.
Wait, how long has it been again since you were in the corporate world?
8 months.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is that it? You're
8 months
living
and 3 days.
you're living when you're not in the room, you want people to say funny, kind, generous, and then you're living in your truth, in your person.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's it?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, there's other things, but they don't have that kind of time.
In our society, there's this idea of what it means to be successful, and so that's what the whole podcast. I started this with my friend of mine, and we were obsessed with like self-improvement books and self-help books and all that stuff. Because anyway, too long of a story, but the whole reason we started because we wanted to hear, like in our culture, what the definition of success is in our culture, just like acquire, and we wanted to talk to people like, and what is your definition of it?
Of what? Of success. Oh, gotcha.
Anyway, that's my big question because that's the whole point of the podcast.
Oh, is this the end?
No,
Oh, okay.
almost. We're getting there.
Okay.
Are you ready to go?
No. Let me see. My definition of success.
Oh, and when are you the happiest?
It's 2 questions. My definition of success. see. I think it's. I don't know. I don't even know. I mean, if time isn't real, is success real? That's what I think. I think I'm having the same blank when it comes to the failure question, honestly. Because I'm looking back to see, what successes I've had. I can have a success, but does that make me successful, or is that just a thing that happened in time? I don't know. I think I don't really connect with the idea of success that much, because then I'll be what's the word? Obsessed with success.
Yeah.
And people's idea of success in the world or society, like you mentioned, is already a little bit flawed because of the programming that we've had. Not to get to, Hotep or whatever. But I think it's like, I'm not really focused on success as much as I am enjoying and doing things the right way. And whatever feels right is what I feel like is the right way. And if people leave an interaction with me and they feel good, or if I do a thing and they find value out of the thing I did, wonderful. But I don't know how I would define that. I don't know if I can. I'm sorry.
No. If you were, I'm not trying to make you define success, but it's say like you're however long you want to live, like however long, like say you're 105 and you're in your deathbed. What do you think? That's like unrealistic because you don't know how you're gonna feel at that time.
But go ahead.
But like in that moment, what do you think you would be the most proud of?
I think there was this one time where so I'll just do this. So there was a time where before my dad passed, I would I would text him every now and then, text him like a random question or whatever, and he would send me a random answer. And so one day I asked him, I was like, hey, so, in your first 35 years of life or whatever, what is something that you noticed in your first 35 that you found in, versus your last 35 or whatever. And he was, he had responded and he said, in my first 35, I was doing everything. People wanted me to do so many different things their way. And in my last 35, I was happy that I didn't do it that way. So to answer your question, I think, if I'm 105 and I'm on my deathbed and then I'm looking back and like, oh man, you know what? That one time I did this one thing, I was really proud of that. If that one time was carving out my own path and doing things my own way, I think I would be really proud of that, to answer your question.
Okay. And when are you the happiest?
Happiest is, while it is like a fleeting emotion, I think I've been the happiest over the last 8 months than I've ever been. And I know that's like, okay, but what times throughout the 8 months? It's because I'm more of my full self, and I have less of unhappiness in my inventory.
Yeah. That
allows me to, already set, have a higher like baseline. Yeah.
Happiness is a trite word, and I'm gonna change the way I word these questions, but I think it's more of the time that you feel. But that's really the answer. Like when you feel like your most self, like the most the activities that feel the most in tune with yourself. And I think it can even be when you're laughing or with your friends. I'm not giving you an answer.
No. I mean that is it. You're right though. It's like when I'm laughing, making people laugh, or in a state of just motion, like not going somewhere or traveling, but like where like energy is kind of flowing around, and I'm connected with my most self because I'm talking with the people that I love, or I'm doing something that I love. So I think doing the things I love, hanging with friends, acting, writing, doing the podcast, showing people a little bit of themselves that they didn't know was there when it comes to like, coaching improv and, coaching students in the acting space. So just doing all those things.
Did I cut you off?
No.
This hand gesture?
A little bit.
Go ahead.
I don't know what it was.
Because I just got it. It's really so cliche. It's when you're in the moment. It's when you're present. That's all we're describing. Because I'm thinking no thoughts. Like when you're in that moment, you're not having thoughts about the past or the present unless they're going to help you do whatever you're trying to do in that moment. But that's basically, anyway, I had an aha moment. It really is be here now.
Absolutely. Yeah, like I went to this famous yogi guy. His name is Sad. I'm gonna kill his name. I'm not gonna start it. But he was basically just saying he had a discussion the other day, or like a round table thing I was at, and he was saying, do this or don't do this. Be happy or be not, but just realize like, there is no. I'm butchering his quote, by the way, but it was basically that, like, just being in the moment is the most you can possibly be, and a lot of times we get caught up in our anxieties, and that makes us think about all the other things around the world and the things that are pushing us, things that we're obsessed with, our failures, the things that, we feel like we're supposed to be, time, and it's like, none of that's real. What is real is this moment here and being, in tune with your space around you, and so I agree with you.
I think I just got it. All my episodes. But it wasn't because of you, it was me thinking.
What?
I'm just joking. Okay. Okay, I have a few more questions and then we'll wrap up. Are you good?
If I wasn't,
I would stop.
Oh, okay. No, I'm good.
Okay. Real quick, I was thinking about this yesterday. What do you think about this quote, that quote that's like, if your dreams aren't big enough, if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough? What do you think? Because when you were describing happy moments of like anxiety and fears, so if you're going to go do something that scares you, that's anxiety and fear, but it's something that you want to do, so you push through it. What do you? I don't know. Just what do you think about that quote?
I think it's valid, but I mean, I it could minimize fear a little bit. Like, it's like, oh, if you're not scared, then you ain't really. You need to set bigger. Like, well, I mean, if you hear me say I was scared though, so I mean, why we do things, why we don't do other things, why we overcome some fears and not others. Those are choices that our person decide to either cross the street or not cross the street. Some people don't, step off that block until they never do. Some people don't never step off that block. Other people cross the street and go to the other side of town. And as first person, I decide to uncover myself and kind of, dig into like, okay, what is it that I want to do, and just be a little bit more every day. As long as I'm being, then whatever is supposed to come will attract itself. I will attract it. And I'm trying to, while I have my goals and I have the things that I want to do, and I want to get better at, being an actor. I want to get better at being a director. I want to, push my business towards, X amount of revenue, all these other things. At the same time, just allowing these things to be, and they'll be whatever they're supposed to be, and whatever other goals or dreams or things that I want to do that I hadn't accomplished or I'm not working towards. If I'm not being what it takes to attain those things, then I may never get them. So I think that's just I think that's the luxury and the curse of not being connected to those things, or it's the luxury and curse of being in the moment, is that you don't get some of the things that you feel like you want. First person, yeah. I don't know if do those words make sense with y'all? No?
No, I think they did. I zoned out a little bit.
That's fine. Me too.
I know. No one was here. We weren't here. We weren't being in the moment.
That's what
We
happens.
messed up. I just had so many thoughts that I zoned out on one of mine. Anyway, because I was thinking about, like, do you read books?
Do I know how to read or?
No, I know. I would imagine you know how to read, but do you know how to? I mean, do you read books?
Yes, I read books.
Like every day, or like, is it a regular thing? Is what I'm asking.
You mean like somebody's schedule, or like, oh man, who finally has time to read?
No, it was just like, because you were talking about your person and spirituality and stuff, and I was just curious of what kind of books you read.
Oh, got you. No, I don't really. I mean, I purchase a little, some books about a little bit of books about everything. But I don't have like a library that I get my connection to my own spirituality.
Or like how anything like that self-help. Like I talked about my
Yeah.
favorite subjects.
Yeah. So I usually mostly read nonfiction. So like not just self-help books, but like things about acting, whether things about directing. Even like that yogi I was telling you about, he has a book about being. And there's I think right now I'm reading a book called The Pathless Path. Excuse me. It basically talks about this kind of the idea of carving your own way and not having, while there is this path that we're on, stepping off the path and walking into the road or the in the woods and kind of carving out like, okay, how am I going to accomplish this thing? Sorry, I'm not sure what that is. Hopefully it's not important. And so yeah, I mean, I read some books, and sometimes I'll get like a little bit out of a book and then put it down, and because it's like a self-help thing, I'll come back and revisit it. Because I'm usually moving around so much that it's sometimes hard to stay focused into one thing. So there's probably a book on that somewhere I can find.
That's true. The book on everything. I found them helpful, but I think thinking for yourself is the most important. But sometimes, yeah. Anyway, all right. A few more and we're done. Two more. This is a general question, but I mean, this is off topic, but they say, we were talking about this earlier, your inner circle is important, but what qualities do the people who are in your inner circle have to have?
Loyalty. I think compassion. If somebody can see another person struggling and not connect with it or not want to help, then what's the purpose of having them around? And if that person is me, then I definitely don't want them around, because they're taking up a space where somebody could have done something helpful, even if it was just like a, hey, how's it going? And just like a tap to, bring somebody back to the world. I think another trait for people, I think joy, people that allow joy. Some people, believe it or not, don't have no interest in joy.
Sure.
They're out there, and no matter how funny my jokes are, they don't want to laugh.
Oh, well, that's
another. Don't even.
That's subjective.
So there's that. There's that, and I'm looking at I'm thinking about the people that I do keep around me, but I probably should just think about the people that I would allow into my space now, or people that I wouldn't allow. But so I think people that don't seem authentic. Authenticity is a huge thing. That's connected to being in the moment, being your full self all the time. And if you're not your full self, and you're hiding and you're somebody else other than that, then I need you even further away from the people I don't need close to me. So
yeah. Okay. Do you feel obligation to people that you've been friends with that don't possess those qualities, but those weren't the requirements when they got hired?
Right.
But the job descriptions changed.
Do I feel an obligation?
Because you said loyalty first.
Right. So not an obligation, but I think because the boundary is available for me to set, like, you know, I'm not gonna go into all my different friendships and say like, hey, if you're not loyal from now on, you need to get the hell out of here. No, it's more like if they do something that, you know, crosses any of those boundaries that I feel are valid, then it's like, okay, well, you had your chance. That was, you know, you like it's I don't need everybody that I've ever met to be with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And it's not even it won't be helpful to even expect that. I'm not saying, you know, I'm fine with repairing relationships where needed, or repairing friendships where needed. But, you know, even when it comes to family, like, you know, some family have to keep them at a little bit of distance because, you know, they'll shit on your dreams just like an enemy would. And, you know, because we have that obligation on family, or people have a perceived obligation to family, you know, we'll keep those poisons around us. And it's, you know, it can, you know, just not be a good situation. So,
yeah.
No, I think, but also ready to pull people's membership card.
At
At any time.
Damn, cold world.
Anybody can get it.
Damn, that wasn't in their contract.
You know?
Have you ever found yourself being a hater?
Mm-hmm.
I was a hater at one time.
That's why.
I was like, yo, I'm the problem.
Mm-hmm. I didn't say that, but I.
No, but I think it's a good self-awareness, because when people talk about haters, nobody is listening to the song or talking about like, yeah, I'm a hater. Like,
We need something like that. Somebody need to make a song for the haters.
For real, like, you just call yourself.
Look at this nigga with new shoes on. Oh, N-word, sorry.
It's okay. But no hard R's. We're fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, just okay. I'm glad you know that you're a hater.
No. That wasn't the question. It was, have you ever found yourself to be a hater?
Have you had thoughts that could poison someone else though about them, but you didn't say them? Because you said, like, when you say some of your family can be poisoned too, like shit on your dreams. Have you shit on someone's dreams in your brain?
I'm sure somebody probably feels that way. I don't take inventory like, oh yeah, that's that moment where I told him he couldn't make it.
Scandalous talk show. Who have you heard?
Right. I'm sure maybe. I mean, if somebody had dreams to be, you know, like a model, and I said like, oh, you're not as cute as you could be, or something like that. Not that I've ever said that, but I'm saying that could be an example of, you know, being a hater, you know, being a poison.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody's probably removed me from their space, and, you know, it is what it is.
One of the best things I heard, they were like, if it takes something that small to get you off the path, like, of your goals, you weren't gonna make it anyway. If you care what Jamie says,
A hater wrote that.
no. If you care what Jamie says, you are never gonna make it anyway.
Hey, were you really even invested in it? If I could just throw you off of it like that?
Yeah, no, they weren't. Okay, this is my last question. What piece of advice would you give to listeners who might want to do what you're doing?
Do not do this.
Yeah, for real. Not even joking.
No, not even joking. Advice? Who am I to give advice?
I don't know. Tell your younger self something. Little shamey.
Man, I would tell that guy. Let me see. Nobody says you couldn't do it. You know.
That's so good.
You know, I think we always get caught up in like, oh, I can't do this because of that. It was like, okay, well, who said that? Did you say that? Because that's what you need to fix first. And if you're the one that said that, then you need to figure out who told you that and start there. You know, there are people working in all industries over the whole globe. You know, why can't you be any one of those people doing that thing? And you know, the stresses that you have can be the stresses of the thing that you like to do, as opposed to the stresses of the thing that you do not care to do. There's a way to, you know, there's a path to doing all the things, and sometimes there's not a path. That's where you get off that path and make your own towards whatever it is that you want to do. So nobody told you that you couldn't do it. If they did, don't listen to them.
They don't know. Well, I think about Jay-Z a lot. Everybody want to tell you how to do it. They never did it. That's one of your quotes. But what I thought about earlier in that is to what you just said, it's gonna be hard anyway. I say that all now a lot. No matter what you choose, it's gonna be hard. Life is not easy. There's no easy way out. There's no easy way through. So like, you might as well suffer for the things you want.
Might as well.
Because you're going to suffer anyway. Life is suffering.
You got to pick your heart, you know.
Life is very hard all the time.
You good?
No, I just wish I had known. Because when I was younger, I always wanted to act since I was little and sing and all that stuff. But I thought when I was in my 20s picking what I was going to do, that doing the safe, I thought there was a safe path. Mm-hmm. And then I pursued this path, and I just wish I had thought, because that was hard. Mm-hmm. And if I would have saved myself a lot of time, I mean, you get some woulda, coulda, shoulda, don't know what would have happened, but I'm just saying, I do, in hindsight, it's not a regret,
sure. No,
but I do
exactly
wish I had just gone from the path I wanted to go anyway, instead of trying to go some fake easy route that doesn't exist. Yeah. So yeah, that's like really important for people to think about.
Mm-hmm. I definitely can relate to that. And I also think about it sometimes, and I'm like, well, what if I would have did it earlier, or gone and did the thing earlier, and not been as resilient as I am now.
I was thinking about that.
And the first time I felt a challenge, then I would see that as a failure, and then be like, okay, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be, and then go doing some other thing.
I really get how.
So I think this current stage, and just being like a little bit naive helps.
Mm-hmm. Ignorance is bliss.
Ignorance is bliss. The less fucks you can give is more ideal. So I think that's what I got.
Yeah. What did you just say before you said less fucks to give? Oh yeah. Oh, I would have. You know how these celebrities have mental breakdowns and stuff. Like,
yes.
I would have, if I had made it in my 20s and what I thought making it was,
man.
I would have had multiple mental breakdowns.
I would have some Robert Downey Jr. shit. Like,
I would have some Britney Spears.
Strung out on drugs.
I would have 100% been on drugs.
I would have came back as Iron Man though. I would have, see, you can have the redemption story.
Still would have got it.
But hey, man, whatever it takes.
I don't know what drug addicts. Females have a redemption story. I don't think we can't be Iron Lady. It's older of us. Yeah, it would have been a mess. I'd have ruined my whole life and my family. Yeah. And then if I made it big now, I would know how to tame my family.
They put Selena in a conservatorship. What is it? What's the
Is
word?
that what you said?
What is it? Conservatorship?
Yep. All words are made up. It's okay. You just invented a new one. Mm-hmm. But no, I would, my family would have been out of control, all that stuff. Anyway, that's fine. That's it. Do you have anything else to say?
This has been a great podcast. I've enjoyed it. Thank you for having me on again. You guys can find me at Say Less Jamie, Jme. Are you going to say this, sir?
No, go ahead.
Okay. You guys can find me on Instagram at Say Less Jme. If you're interested in any improv classes or bringing me in to coach your your corporate teams, or just kind of want to see, where we can work together, you can email me at Jamie, Jamie, at bkimprov.com. And you can follow my podcast at the Audacity, JME, and Warren on Spotify and all the other places where you get your podcasts.
I'll put it in the show notes too.
Oh, okay. So we can. I just wasted some. Okay.
You didn't waste any time.
That's all good.
Some people are like audio learners and they weren't going to look at the show notes. Anyway, thank you for sharing your time with me and inspiring our listeners to redefine success for themselves. And thank you, listeners, for listening and tuning in. Remember to like, comment, and share this episode, and please leave a review. We really appreciate your feedback. Mm-hmm. And also subscribe to the You Plus Happy podcast, and it's available on YouTube as well. See you next week, and we asked our guests to say our tagline, which is, we'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Oh, okay. We'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Yay, we did it!
Woo!
Okay. Thank you.